Hey guys, welcome back to another Hard Mode Games video, and today we're going to be going over a new deck that I made that I like to call the Streamer's RGB. And now RGB stands for the primary colors red, green, and blue. So this deck is actually a green base blue Imperial Dramon deck, but it also has some red in there as well. And so it basically functions mostly like a green base blue Imperial Dramon deck. However, I am running green Imperial Dramons as well, but I'm also running a bit of red in there. I'm running ties as well as Gaia Forces. So now a lot of people generally ask why I run the ties, and their immediate thought is, oh, to play the Gaia Forces. And while yes, that may be true, it also provides extra DP that comes in handy at lower levels as well as the top end when you're going against level 6s or 7s to be able to go over maybe those Craniamons, those Omnimons, or even Ragnaloardmons. So it provides a lot of utility in there, and at first I thought it was a little weird, but it ended up working out better than I had thought. And so originally this deck was kind of made as a way to kind of counter the red yellow control decks, because I originally wanted to put in Precise Tactics, or the card that basically lets you go through security without having to worry about security effects. But I started noticing that Precise Tactics just didn't really work out, and so I just ended up putting in Gaia Forces instead for fun to see like how it would handle certain things, and adding extra control may have benefited the deck. And I started seeing it in security. I started seeing my ties come out of security, or even playing them on the board for cheap. And it ended up doing really well. It does have a couple of bad matchups, but for the most part, it handles a lot of other decks very well. But yeah, with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and just get into the deck. So we have our poster boy child here. This is the guy you want to be running into the most. He is our win con here. We have the blue Imperial Dramon Dragon mode. Basically his cost is reduced down to 3, so reduced by 2 if he digivolves on top of a Pieldramon or Dinobemon, and he also has jamming. On top of that, when you digivolve into him, all jammers get unsuspended. So if he's already suspended and you digivolve into him, or the one underneath it gets digivolved into this, then it will restand. So that comes in handy for our memory usage, and you'll see that a little bit further in the deck. So we run 4 of those, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, and I'll put these off to the side, but Imperial Dramon is really important here. And then the next one, we are also running the green Imperial Dramon. Well, this one is not as great as the blue one, and we don't want to focus him as much. He can still have a pretty great oppressive potential, as we do run 2 of him. And so the great thing about this is that he also reduces the Digivolution cost to 3 by dropping it down by 2 on a Dinobemon or Pieldramon. He has piercing on top of that, and whenever he destroys a suspended, or I guess when he destroys a Digimon, he'll be able to restand himself and be able to basically swing again. He can do this up to once per turn, and he has piercing on top of that. So you can do some extra damage on top of getting rid of bodies on the board, and you can do that. You can kill 2 bodies essentially with him. So we run 2 of those as well. And here is our last level 6. I really want to talk about the level 6s first, because I feel like these are the things that you really want to go towards the end of the game, or as quickly as possible. These are your win conditions, so it's really important. There's only one Bancho Stingmon here, and really that's just to take care of any big guys like Omnimons or Ragnalords if you can get it rested, which this deck does have ways to do that. But yeah, the 3 security checks really swings the pace of the game in your favor. It could be late and it could catch you up, but you definitely do want it to be able to catch up, get rid of those big forces on the board. So those are our 3 level 6s. So let's go on to move into the Digitamas for the deck. So we have Tanimons here. We're running 3 of them, right? 1, 2, 3. And these are really, really important. So Tanimon, if you've seen my Restaurantimon video, I mentioned that Tanimon is a when attacking effect, and it is not once per turn. So if you've digivolved on this turn that you're attacking, and you're able to restand, which both of these Imperial Dramons have the ability to do that. The Imperial Dramon will basically, if you swing with the form before it and you digivolve into Imperial Dramon, he'll restand himself and so you'll be able to swing again. If Tanamon's in the source, that's going to be 2,000 DP as a gain on the second swing. 1,000 for the first swing before you digivolve into him, and then another 1,000 once he restands himself and you swing again. Imperial Dramon, you get to do it twice basically. If something's suspended, then you kill something, right? You'll gain the 1,000 DP when you attack it and destroy it, and then he'll restand himself and you can destroy another Digimon, or you can attack security and you'll be able to get that 1,000 DP there as well. So both can do it for 2,000 DP just by these cards themselves. You can do even more with the Tanamon effect when we get a little bit further into the deck. So pretty nice there. You can get to 14,000 DP. That's a really important number, as we'll be going past 14,000 DP, and that's really important when you go against Omnimons or Ragnalords to really be able to go over them. So Tanamon, super cool, super neat, works really well with both these guys, and yeah, we run 3 of them, so we're going to put that off to the side here. Then we run 2 Argomon. This is just for some extra DP boost. Really, you can go 4 Tanamon, 1 Argomon, or you can go 4 Tanamon, 1 Minomon. I personally prefer the memory gain. We have a little bit more memory gain in this deck, so the more memory I can get, the more I can utilize the other cards in my deck as well. So that's why I carry 2 of these. I personally really like Argomon. So then we have our Agumon, right? Level 3, plus 1,000 DP as inheritable, 1,000 DP, 3-drop, 0 for Digivolution. Pretty stable in almost every green deck. You'll pretty much see Agumon there every time. So that extra 1,000 DP, like I said, with those Tanamons, can put you at 15,000 DP, which will put you over Ragnaloardmon, which will be great because you do want to get rid of it. So we have 4 Agumons here, right? Then next for our other level 3s, we have Kokuamons. So Kokuamon is a 4-drop and a 1-cost for Digivolution. He's very pricey for a level 3. He has 2,000 DP, but what is really important about him is that he will give you an extra security check if you are level 6 or higher. And seeing how both of these Imperial Dramons, let me go ahead and move this Bancho Stingmon over here. Both of these Imperial Dramons have the ability to restand. You'll be checking for multiple security checks, usually up until about 4 security checks. You can even do more than that if you have the right cards underneath. So we do run 3 of these guys, and they're really great cards. They have pushed, if I'm behind and I need to stay in raising area to make sure these 2 guys are safe, they have really pushed the game back in my favor and caught me up to my opponent if my security's been really low. And yeah, that's why I run 3 of them. 4 of them, I'm a little scared to do that because they are very expensive to play. And you know, if your opponent chokes you out 1, then you're in a really tough spot if you have to play that from hand, because you'll be passing over. You'll be giving them 3. It doesn't really matter if they have a memory tamer, but starting them off with 3 memory with no memory tamer can be pretty big and allows opponents to do a lot of things. We've got Terriermon to stop any DP, or not DP, memory gains, such as Hammer Spark, Stingmons, etc., anything that's not a tamer. I only run 1 of these. You can run 2 of these, to be honest, and you'll be fine. That can be a change that you can make with the deck, no big deal. I do run Tentomons. I run 2 of them. These are 3 drops, 0 evolutions, 2,000 DP. The inheritable effect is that it will let you rest a Digimon with 3,000 DP or less. This is not a level restriction, so if you're playing yellow and they're playing Repamons, you will be able to rest with Tentomon. So that's pretty big there. That resting or suspending is very important with Imperial Dramon. We're not running very many because we don't want to rely on it too much. There's other rookie spots or level 3 spots that we want to fill. And so we really don't want to clutter them up all too much with that. And Imperial Dramon really benefits from the Tentomons, but there, as mentioned before, there's only 2 of them. And the likelihood of them working together is not that great. And you don't really want him on Imperial Dramon too much. You can, just to minimize board size a little bit and give yourself a little bit more control. But ultimately, I think you really don't need more than 2 Tentomons. Then we've got Goblimon running at 2. We're also running 1 Argomon. These cards are essentially the same. I run them in a 2-1 split because of Omnimons, just in case you want to make sure that they don't have the same name, so they don't get all blown up at the same time. If you have as opposed to if I didn't have this Argomon and I had a third Goblymon and I had 2 Goblymons on board, they're susceptible to Omnimon. So that's just one small thing. They're really not that much different at all besides the naming, and you help yourself a little bit there. Next, we've got Gargomons running at 3. These Gargomons, we run them just to get the extra DP boost. We want the DP boost anywhere we can get. Sometimes we'll be going over like 15,000, 16,000 with Imperial Dramon and, well, both Imperial Dramons. And, you know, you don't really get much after 16,000 DP. You don't get any added bonuses. Swinging against security is super safe. But this is just to kind of guarantee the extra DP boost, because if we get the Kokuomon in the source, that means we're not going to be able to have Agumon there. So we're going to lack a DP boost there. And so we want to make sure that we can boost these guys up whenever we can, just to be able to go over those large Digimon and make sure those security checks are safe. Not so much for Imperial Dramon Blue, since he has jamming, but for Imperial Dramon Dragon Mode Green, since he does not have jamming and he has piercing. So he will be going into security blindly and not knowing what amount of DP he's going to be hitting. So that those DP boosts can be pretty important, and they've come in clutch pretty often. Then we've got Woodmon running at 3. This is just to, you know, have your standard blockers in there. Nothing all too special. It helps with Rookie Rush for sure. You need the blockers for Rookie Rush. One of the poorer matchups for this deck. I mean, I think this deck can handle it, but it's not an absolute guarantee. So you need to be able to make sure you can get these guys on board with a Kokuomon underneath, and you can catch up to Rookie Rush. However, you do have to remember Rookie Rush is pretty security bombed. There's flower cannons, positron lasers, etc. in there, right? It's not always a guarantee that you'll be able to swing through all of the security that turn. You might get stopped by a positron or a flower cannon, or even a hammer spark. Hammer sparks can pass over turn, but that will let the security checks still go through. But if you want to swing with Imperial Dramon and get that restand, you won't be able to swing again once those hammer sparks have already passed over turn. So just keep that in mind. Then we've also got 2 Kabuterimons. They're the same thing as Rapidmon. They're a little bit more expensive at 6 for the drop, but same cost for Digivolution, 5,000 DP instead of 4,000, and same inheritable effect. Why there's a split between them? Well, one helps a little bit with the Omnimon, again, just like the Goblymon and the Argomon, but also having these Kabuterimons, if you know that you won't be able to go to Ultimate your next turn, and you suspect your opponent's playing a Volcanic Dramon, then these will be safe from that Volcanic Dramon. It won't be safe from Altares, however, so just keep that in mind. Both Gargomon and Kabuterimon will be dying to that, since Altares does delete all 5,000 DP Digimon. Then we've got some Stingmons for some memory boosts. This can help with choking if your opponent doesn't have any memory gains. Also, it can, if they're trying to choke you, it'll help you as well. Maybe get you from 2 to 3 and be able to Digivolve into a Pile Dramon or a Stingmon, Imperial Dramon or a Bancho Stingmon by pushing you from 2 to 3, since it is an inheritable effect and it doesn't actually work on Stingmon. So then we move on to our ultimates. We've got Pile Dramon, and we carry 4 of those. Pile Dramon is super important here. This can come from green and blue, but you're only going to be coming from green since this is a green base Imperial Dramon deck. Pile Dramon being really great at 7,000 DP. He has jamming, as well as giving an effect to both Imperial Dramons when attacking once per turn, that if this Digimon has Imperial Dramon in its name, unsuspend it. So very, very important, as this will give us multiple swings at security, being safe from all Digimon. Especially with Kokuomon underneath, you can do some really big damage here. So if you have the Pile Dramon in the breeding area, right? If you have him in the breeding area with a Kokuomon underneath, your turn starts. You have a memory tamer. You've got 3 memory to start. You push out the Pile Dramon. You swing at security, jamming, right? So you're most likely not going to die unless it's an option card. You survive the check. Then you Digivolve into Imperial Dramon. Imperial Dramon restands him for having jamming, and so you've done one check now. You swing at security. The Craniamon provides an extra security check. You do 2 checks now. He restands once again because of Paildramon. Swings at security again. You do another 2 checks if you've survived Digimon checks or option cards that just didn't stop the Imperialdramon. Now you've checked all 5 security. That is big, and that will turn you around really quick. That's one of the benefits of running a green base Imperialdramon deck. Similar things can happen with the green Imperialdramon. This one requires a little bit more effort though, and more memory for sure, or your opponent's being already having Digimon already suspended. The way the Imperialdramon works is you have to be careful with this Paildramon effect, as swinging at security is the first thing you want to do because it will allow it to restand. If you decide to swing at your opponent's Digimon instead of swinging at security, these effects conflict. The restand from the Imperialdramon effect and the restand from the Paildramon effect conflict in timing, and so you will only get one of those. So you really want to make sure you swing at security first if you want to maximize the amount of security hits you want to do, and then restand for the Paildramon hits, and then destroy 2 more Digimon while doing piercing and having high DP with maybe a Gargomon in the source and a Tanamon in the source. Again, as mentioned before, if you have Tanamon, you'll be getting multiple DP boosts on both of these Imperialdramon swings when they restand and swing again, if you've Digivolved into them or some other Digimon on that turn. So that can be really big. This is really where the big synergy comes in with Tanamons and those other DP boosters. So let's go on, move into the rest of the deck. We've got Dinobemon. We're running those at 3. We want to be able to make sure that we can get into both of these Digimon very easily and without having to pay the 5 cost to Digivolve into them, as they both get their cost reduced from Paildramon and Dinobemon, as mentioned before. The difference between these two is that this one doesn't have an inheritable effect. It is 1 more cost to drop it from hand, so it hurts a little bit more. But you do get piercing along with the jamming, so you can swing at opponents' Digimon, kill them, and get jamming when swinging at security. It can be pretty big. It really pushes the game more in your favor as you reduce their board size and you get security checks as well. So that's what Dinobemon is good for there. Next, we have 2 Blossomon here. And the Blossomon has come in pretty clutch quite often, and the reason for that is if my opponent is choking me at 2 and I don't have my memory tamer out yet, then I have to get away. I have to have some way to start putting pressure on the board. I need to get this Imperialdramon out quick. Since there are more of these, I'm more likely to see these Imperialdramons first. And what I'll do is I'll have a champion on board. I'll Digizorp onto the champion at 2. And then I'll Digivolve into the Imperialdramon, restanding itself. And if my opponent has a memory tamer already on the board, that they're going to be put at 3 anyways. And that 5 cost is going to put them at 3 from 2, right? If I'm at 2 at my turn, I do the 5 cost Digivolution on top of suspended Blossomon. It restands because my Imperialdramon has jamming. I go 2 to 3. That is 5 cost. They would have been at that amount anyway if I Digivolved for 3 or played something else for 3. This allows me to get 2 draws, 1 for Blossomon, 1 for Imperialdramon, so it helps me cycle into my deck a little bit better, and it helps me get something big on the board relatively fast as well. And so that's why I play the Blossomons there. Also, Blossomon can go into Bancho Stingmon as well. However, you probably won't be wanting to Digizorp into Blossomon to go into Bancho Stingmon. But you can if you want to, and that option is always there. Next up, we've got Davis is our tamer. We're running 2 of those, and yeah, these Davises are really important since we're running about 13 Digimon, or rookie Digimon level 3s. These Davises will help you find those level 3s as well as any blue or green Digimon cards in the deck. So a Davis, when you play him, he will guarantee your memory starting at 3, which is really big as you need that for the Digivolution from Paildramon to Imperialdramons without passing over turn. And generally, the other thing is when you go into the Imperialdramons, you don't want to swing with the Dino B or the Imperialdramon. You don't want to swing with the Dino B or Paildramon if you are going to go into the green Imperialdramon, because it will not be able to restand like the blue one. But yeah, Davis will start you off at 3 memory, and you reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. If you reveal any blue or green Digimon, then you are allowed to take 1 of each. So that's really good. He can make your hand size much bigger if you end up seeing both blue and green Digimon. He can really help fix your hand if you're bricked. And so these two are very, very important. Having that 3 memory is also crucial to getting those Digivolutions into the Imperial Dramons. Then next up, here's the Spice. This is where things start getting a little weird. We're going into 3 colors at this point. So we're running 2 ties. This is again to give more DP boost, making sure that these guys are going to go over those Ragnalords who may have blocker, or your black Craniamons that could have 13,000 DP plus, depending on what their sources are. So you want to make sure that you can get over those things, as Craniamon and Ragnaloardmon really create an obstacle for Imperial Dramon Blue. But if you have higher DP than them, then they won't be able to block you, and you can definitely start doing some real damage. And yeah, these ties are very important for that. The other thing is they do help you with the Dino Beamon pierces as well. You'll be able to go over more things, which, you know, if you can pierce something and have jamming, getting your opponent's security down lower is even better. Next up, we have for the options, we've got 3 flower cannons. These flower cannons are important. You want to be able to make sure that you can get over those Ragnaloardmons, but if they have blocker, you won't be able to swing at security to get those Tanamon DP boosts or the Gargomon DP boosts if everything's unsuspended. So this flower cannon will rest those Ragnalords or any other blockers to let you basically swing at security for free, get those DP boosts, and then once the Imperial Dramon restands, you can swing at the Ragnalord to finish it off, because you will be getting a few extra. You'll be getting 2 swings with the Imperial Dramons, and if you have the green Imperial Dramon, you kill the Ragnalord and you restand, swing again at security after the pierce. So that can be pretty big there too. Also, the flower cannons also come in clutch in the beginning of the game as well, when you have Dino Beamon and there are chokes going on between both opponents. The Argomons can help you push. The Argomon Digitamas can help you push yourself to 1 or to 2 if you're being choked, and allowing you to play Flower Cannon and destroying your opponent's Digimon, you know, giving yourself a little bit more of an edge there. You can switch this from 3 to 4 flower cannons. Honestly, I've switched between them both. I'm still unsure a little bit on which one I prefer, but flower cannons, having all these 3 flower cannons is very important. Then next up, we've got the terrorist clusters. This will be putting one of your opponent's suspended Digimon to the bottom of its deck. It works for Millenniumon. That's one of the reasons that I've put it in here, is just to help counteract Millenniumon or Ragnaloardmon. If it checks it in security, then it'll be sent to the bottom of the deck, and that helps with the rebooting in case you don't see the flower cannons. Then we're only running 1 of those. Then we have Hidden Potential Discovered. This one is kind of crucial in almost every green deck. It's one of those cards that's just too good to pass up. And if you have the Blossomon, one of the 2 Blossomons that are in the deck, then you can use Hidden Potential Discovered to suspend the Blossomon itself and then go into Imperial Dramon, and the Imperial Dramon will restand itself without having to move the memory at all, and you get that large body on the board really quickly. If you have Kokuomon underneath, yeah, it's pretty crazy to go from a level 4 to a level 6 with security +2 or security +1 and jamming. So yeah, Hidden Potential, you definitely need it. And then next up, we're going to more of the spice. We've got Gaia Force. So looking at all the options here, the Gaia Force is like really, really important, as green doesn't always have an option to really get rid of Ragnaloardmon, and that's one of the reasons that I really put red in this deck, was to be able to make sure I can go over those Ragnaloardmons with blocker by DP, but also with option cards like Gaia Force. And we're running 2 of those. That's the final 2 cards for the deck, and I don't know how many times I've gone against a Ragnaloardmon deck, and you know, they're like, what, you're running Gaia Force? Like, yeah, like that's the only way I can really get rid of it without having this Imperial Dramon that takes a lot of setup. I mean, a 2-cost tie drop and Gaia Force, it's a quick exit plan, and Ragnalord requires a ton of resources. So to use these Gaia Forces, it's it can be pretty big and turn things in your favor, especially if it's in security. If you get these in security, a free Gaia Force with green, with the already low cost that green generally has on the lower end, at least for this deck. The cost is a bit higher going towards the level 5s and 6s, but this Gaia Force can be pretty big in stopping big Mega Zoo decks, as well as just any other deck, really. So one more thing that I did want to mention is the amount of security effects that you have in this deck is like really good. So you do have the 4 Tamers, right? So they get played for free. You get the flower cannons that will rest all of your opponent's Digimon that are non-blockers. You get the terrace clusters that'll get rid of the body on the board that's swung, or at something else that's suspended on the board. You get Gaia Forces that will just get rid of a body, and you have hidden potential discovered. You know, seeing any of those in security, you'll probably be pretty happy. The one that you'll probably be the least happy about is Tai, which is honestly not even that bad, because if you see Tai, that means your Gaia Forces that you draw into are now active, and you can now play them whenever you want. The rest of them are really good. Davis starting you off at 3 memory and possibly giving you a draw 2 that can unbrick you or just give you exactly what you need. Very big. You wouldn't be disappointed with any of these. Flower Cannon will enable your piercers to pierce and do damage. So yeah, really big security bombs here. That can really change the tide of your game. But yeah, that is the deck itself. And yeah, this is the green, blue, red Imperialdramon deck. These are our main Digimon here. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Some of the matchups that I have that I've played with this deck and I've struggled with a bit are generally purple. Because Vengeance just gets rid of the Imperialdramons, and if you don't have Kokoamon underneath, then you're not doing as many security checks as you would want to, and purple can just put a lot of bodies on the board very quickly. As well as Rookie Rush. Rookie Rush can be a little bit difficult. Dino Beamon helps with it, as a lot of Rookie Rush players like to play Let's Stop Fighting, and so their low-level Digimon will be able to survive the checks on security. And so Dino B will be able to destroy them afterwards and get piercing as well as on top of that. So you're controlling their board size a bit as well as doing security checks. Imperialdramon Green also helps with Rookie Rush. However, the downside to him is that it does take a while to get to him. You are going to have to pay 3 to get to that Dino B or Pyldramon, and then you're going to have to pay another 3 to Digivolve into him. So that's pretty pricey when you're going against Rookie Rush. But yeah, the other and the one last deck that I know for sure that I had a little bit that I've struggled with was the red yellow control deck, when there's Gaia Forces, Eden's Javelins, Shield of the Just, and Plasma Stakes all in that deck. It's very hard to get these guys to stick to the board because they're all above 12,000 DP. Oh, and what's it called? The Seven Heavens hurts the green Imperialdramon a lot, because even if you're at that 14,000 DP, 15,000 DP, that 7 Heavens, if it's a first check, you're now at 4,000 DP, 5,000 DP, and you're most likely going to die to security. So it can be really hurtful there, and I've just had a hard time having any of these guys stick to the board. Not so much Sponcha Stingmon, because you really don't want to use that against that deck archetype. But yeah, that's what I've had quite a bit of a problem with. But I hope you guys enjoyed this deck. I've had a ton of fun playing it over the past week and a half, maybe 2 weeks or so. Mixing colors is something that I've always enjoyed doing. This deck has been serving me pretty well. Like I said, I think there's very few matchups that absolutely like take this deck down. So if your locals isn't playing, red, yellow control, or purple, I think you're going to have a pretty good matchup, and I think you can do a lot with this deck. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you like this video. Leave a thumbs up. Hit the bell for notifications on when my new videos go live. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Bye.